is going on, everyone? It is your AEW Dynamite review show right here on Fightful and Fightful.com. I'm John Alba, filling in for your boy, Sean Ross Sapp. We had to upgrade a little bit with the hair this week, and I am so grateful to be joined by my Fightful cohort, Mr. Alex Pawlowski, the king of the sour grapes himself. What's going on, brother? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Yeah, it's the turkey week. It's the day. It's the week of the turkey. My family's had to postpone our Turkey Day festivities because my daughter's got the flu.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
So my wife's elderly parents are like, yeah. And so we're hoping, fingers crossed for Sunday. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. You know what? It's even better because that way the bird can actually defrost. Because between you and me, 4 days just wasn't enough. So it's nice. It's nice.
Well, here's what I want to know, not just from you, but from everyone out there tonight. You have a chance. Get involved. Send in your super chats and your humper chats, humperchats.com. What is the most overrated Thanksgiving food? Because this is a very, very, very divisive topic here. People are on either side of the fence of Thanksgiving, and I would love to know what is the most overrated Thanksgiving food. Do you have one in particular off the top of your head?
I think that the problem with traditional Thanksgiving dishes, is there are a myriad of ways to prepare them poorly.
Certainly
prepare them poorly, and like one way to do it good. This turkey is dry as hell. Oh, that's fine. I'll put some gravy on it. Well, that is lumpy as all get out, isn't it? You're trying to salvage one thing, but maybe if I take some of this stuffing and then dip it in the mashed potatoes, everything won't taste like cardboard, but if it's done right, Thanksgiving, but so rarely is it done.
I agree with you on that. Very rarely is it done right. And I come from a family of Italian cooks. We cook nonstop. I cook nonstop. I'm sous vide and everything, but on Thanksgiving, It's just not flowing. We already got a super chat in from Luis who says, I'll say it, fuck stuffing. Whew. FMK, stuffing, turkey, or ham. You don't need to answer that.
Listen, stuffing is one of those that I am very particular about. Mm-hmm. It can either be way too dry or way too wet. There's got to be something in the middle where just a little damp. If it's too dry, it's like you're eating croutons. If it's too wet, it's like, did you just take this directly out of the bathtub? There's got to be something in the middle there. So,
oh my goodness. Well, we'll have plenty of time. And again, guys, send in your super chats, your humper chats, humperchats.com, because we have a very busy episode of AEW Dynamite to discuss. It was the post Full Gear show. And I'll tell you, I feel like the most newsworthy stuff was out of the way within the first hour of the show, and the second hour, not quite as newsworthy for the most part. What are your overall sentiments there?
There was a very specific crowd today that really, I thought, put their stamp on everything. I thought that the first segment was a giant swing and a miss. And everything after that kind of had to rebuild itself back up. The trios match was amazing. Should have main evented. And there was some other stuff in there. There was hey, by the way, Brene Paquette's here to make a really interesting announcement about something, and everyone on the internet is like, yes, but how does that pertain to somebody else? And 20 minutes they were like, oh, by the way, that pertains to that person too. And it felt like they did feel like they added that on afterwards. A lot of it felt like they wanted to do something, but the stuff they were doing kind of got affected by outside influences, and it didn't quite be it wasn't plan A.
Sure. I actually liked the opening segment, but there was a big element of it that I didn't like overall, and we can get into that now as we talk about this opening segment that saw William Regal in the ring right away, and he's egging on the crowd saying, oh, you'd love to hear from the new AEW World Champion, MJF, right? Mr. Friedman, as he's calling him. And he says, well, Max isn't here. He's on a movie set tonight, and you're going to have to wait till next week to hear from him. Classic heel. Wait till next week. John Moxley comes out. He's ready to stomp a mud hole in Regal, and Bryan Danielson makes the save, and he's trying to appeal to Jon Moxley not to knock out his good old mentor, Mr. William Regal, the gentleman villain himself. And he appeals to him, Alex, by trying to say, this man helped me understand what my father was going through, which is what you went through, alcoholism.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There was a great degree of realism here that I really enjoyed, and I thought Jon Moxley had the acting job of the night, having to sell with his facials and having to sell with his intensity that he wanted to do everything in his power to beat the absolute crap out of William Regal. Ultimately, he's able to compose himself, and he tells Regal to walk away and never come back. So what was amiss about this for you?
Everything. Like, everything about it just felt like this was it. This was your big, we just crowned MJF by having William Regal turn on Jon Moxley at the pay-per-view, and this was what we're doing. I honestly, I can't see how anyone could have thought this was good. Like, honestly, I don't see it. Like, sure. Regal, like, MJF had to be out of town because he's legitimately at the movie. You want MJF there, right? You that's what you want. If he can't be there, the other thing is Regal explains himself. That's the only other option. The option of Moxley comes out and wants to stomp a mud hole in Regal, but Bryan Danielson stops him because I love this man because he taught me to love my father again. It was just like that was a scene from a different movie. Like, that's not at all. Like, there are two things. MJF talks about being champion. He can't be there. He's got to be somewhere else. Fine. Then Regal explains himself. Those are the only two options. Otherwise, you lost me.
See, I disagree in the sense that I feel like there were two ways for the story to go with Regal. Is why did he help Max and what becomes of the Blackpool Combat Club now? And I felt like this part of the story helps service that element of it. What becomes of the Blackpool Combat Club? Well, now we know Bryan Danielson doesn't agree with what William Regal did, but there is this inherent guilt that he has that he feels he needs to stand up for this man. And that makes you question, well, what does that drive between Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson going forward? And I think that layers elements of the character building and furthering going forward. Here's what I did not like. And obviously it was circumstantial, but man, Chicago, always one of your hottest crowds, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that guaranteed.
Yep.
Max just won the world championship. He needed to have some sort of presence on this show.
Did.
Even if it was a pre-taped promo that they rolled, Max welcoming everyone to AEW and introducing William Regal. His presence was needed on the show. He is the top draw
100%.
that the show has, and him not being there was a big problem. We got a super chat from Peter Davies. He says, I feel the opposite of Alex TBH. I thought opening was a huge hit, and it was a fantastic episode. Right match, main evented. They killed it.
Well, like, I mean, I think if you're going to do what you did with the trios match, nothing can follow it the way that they did it. So that's just my own thing. Also, Jericho sucks, but we'll talk about that later. I got to commit to the bit at this point. Like if I stop now, I can't do it. So what I was going to say was that I think that Bryan Danielson having, like, the way he put it though. Yeah, he did a bad thing, but you've done bad things. I've done bad things. We've all done bad things. Sounds like an after-school special to me. Like, he did a bad thing. Like, he's the leader of the Blackpool Combat. You named your damn faction after him, and he turned on you, all of you. Like, when turning on Mox, he turned on all of you to align himself with the biggest heel in the company, who does not represent what we thought the Blackpool Combat Club represented. And I think that Danielson trying to, like, okay, hey, what I thought was going to happen is like, okay, I've stopped you from murdering William Regal. Now Danielson turns around and says, so what do you have to say for yourself? Like, I don't think Danielson should have let him off the hook there. It felt
well. I think there is a great story to be told where maybe Bryan Danielson is holding on to hope that there's still good in William Regal. And when the time comes where Bryan Danielson is a babyface challenger to MJF, that's when William Regal shows that even he couldn't be trusted with him. I think there's an opportunity to layer that story, and I felt like that might have been the beginning of that seed being planted tonight. Orion Ben 666 says Danielson appeals are hollow to me after Yuta. It's a fair point after we saw.
Yeah, and Yuta not being a part of this, Claudio not like the only one speaking on behalf of Regal is Danielson feels odd and half finished. The other thing is after Mox gets it together, and by the way, great for Mox, like the way he acted this part,
it was great,
excellent. But him going to Regal and saying, "Here's what I need from you: run far, run fast, never come back." And then Regal just does. And everything I saw on Twitter after that was, he's going to be on SmackDown on Friday, which is absolutely not the story you want to be telling, right? Like, people think this is the last appearance of William Regal.
The amount of texts I got from people. I got a text, I won't say who, but I got a text from a WWE talent after that said, "Do you think he's coming over?" So I don't think it was just fans who thought that.
Here's the thing: if people are like, wouldn't you be happy because there's so much cool stuff Regal could do? He could be the guy to actually say War Games or whatever. Like, yeah, but like, there's after this particular development, there's now at least months, if not years, of unfinished business between him. Like, if he never shows up on AEW again, and we never get him having the moment where he explains why he chose MJF over the entire Blackpool Combat Club, well, no, that's bad. It's very, very odd.
Which, to be fair, they promised will happen next week. And generally, one thing that you can hold Tony Khan to, and he even talked about this in the press conference this past week, was he doesn't like to false advertise. And if
that's true,
and if he's promising something, I feel pretty confident that we will hear some sort of explanation next week as to what it is. Jambeard asks, so is it still the BCC when the Blackpool is no longer part of the group and betrayed the group? I guess that's kind of to what your point is.
I mean, what's Aberdeen? Maybe it's the ACC. It's the Aberdeen Combat Club. If Danielson's going to be the guy in charge of it now, maybe it's the
ACC might be trademarked already. My gut, it might be trademarked. Brent Lockman says, with Danielson trying to become a gaslighting heel. I didn't take it that way.
There was some, because everything felt so odd about this segment. I was like, is Danielson, like, he did slap Mox, which I thought was a weird choice, but I thought, is he gonna like straight up slug Mox and like turn on Mox too? Like, there was all of this just felt like I was so excited for what this segment was going to be coming out of Saturday, and it was just not what I wanted it to be. And I'm like that. I mean, I'm probably not being objective when I say I thought it was a swing and a miss. It was not at all what I wanted, and so I didn't like it. I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
I looked at it as a chance to layer some long-term storytelling seeds. And that's how I'm going to choose to look at it right now. And they can prove me right or they can prove me wrong, as we'll find out in the next weeks ahead. Chi-Town Spurs says BCC was Danielson's vision. Watching him desperately try to keep it together before it all falls into pieces could be a great story.
Yes. It's a story I want to start next week after this week when Regal says, "This is why I turned on you, Sunshine." I need that promo before I need anything else. I need that.
And Just Me Junior says, "Run away, but come back next week." Regal, agree with Alex. This was a bit silly. Regal is all about winning matches. Come on, dumb.
I mean, the idea of Mox being so pointed of, here's what I need from you: run away as far away as you can go and never come back. Mm-hmm. If Regal shows up again, what's Mox gonna do? Like, beat him up? Like, we had Danielson say, "Don't do that," because he's got a neck injury. He's had two brain bleeds. Please don't hurt him. So if Regal doesn't leave and he does come back, Mox has to beat him up. But then we get more Danielson versus Mox stuff, which I thought was great last year at Revolution. I just don't need to see it
You don't need
again.
to see it again,
And there's
right?
so much other stuff to do. That's all.
Yeah, again, I think that there's more legs with this where Danielson almost has his heart broken by William Regal, who he wants to hold on to faith to, that there's this bond between them, and he will turn on him in favor of Max. We'll see. That's still a story to be told down the line. Don't forget to get your super chats and humper chats in, guys. Humperchats.com. We'll be reading them throughout the night. I also want to know, what is the most overrated food on Turkey Day? We got a humper chat from Justin Robbins. Just wanted to advocate for Fightful Select. I joined after Brawl Out and plan to keep it going for as long as you're offering it. Fun fact, for less than 17 cents a day, you too can enjoy all the benefits of Select. Happy Thanksgiving and all that jazz. Sean Ross Sapp and your team doing an awesome job. Alex,
I don't think there's any plans for us to shutter it anytime soon. So I'm happy to have you for the rest of time.
Yes, please. So after this, we moved on and we got a backstage interview with Renee Paquette and Keith Lee, and she was asking him what went into his decision to leave Swerve hanging high and dry. Swerve gets in his face. They ask Renee to leave. They look like they're about to throw down, and Swerve puts his hand in the camera. What do you make of this development here?
They kind of have to. They're going to have to slow burn all of this, because I think they'll probably get a match, but it'll devolve immediately into like fighting at ringside. They'll both be counted out, whatever, and then the first time they'll have an actual match will be at Revolution, which is a long ass time from now. So they're going to have to slow play this every week in order to get to that point.
You think they're going to draw this out till March?
I certainly think that if it's not the feud ender, it'll be the big match between them in a cage, whatever. They try to have matches, but it never works out because you can't contain them. And so there'll be some kind of crazy stipulation. Listen, after Full Gear last year, when they immediately started in with MJF and Punk, I was like, well, there's no way they can slow play this until Revolution, but that's a pay-per-view match. Mm-hmm. And to their credit, they basically did. They had that weird thing in Chicago on Dynamite that wasn't really a match because of all the cheating and stuff. So they figured out a way to do that kind of a thing where we got a long time between now and our next pay-per-view. Let's give them a tease of something halfway through that time and then do the big match at pay-per-view.
I like their dynamic a lot together, and any opportunity for a crowd to see Keith Lee emote more and an audience to see Keith Lee emote more is good by me. I've said this time and time again. I think there is one guy in wrestling that has a chance to break out big in Hollywood, not as an action movie star, but as like a legit dramatic actor aside from MJF, and that's Keith Lee. I could see Keith Lee bawling about the death of a family member in a movie, something like that. And any opportunity for us to see more of that Keith Lee, I think, is really good. Mm-hmm. Slow burn. They do have a lot of specials coming up. Obviously, you have winners coming. They'll do a New Year's show like they do all the time. So there are those special events in between, and that's I imagine where we will see that. Jambeard says Swerve Lee versus someone at Winners coming, and that's where Swerve fully turns on Keith and beats him down with a chair. I don't think you're going to see Keith Lee and Swerve team again.
Nope. I mean, I don't think they should. I think that was as good of a breakup as they could possibly have. Like, Keith Lee said he wasn't going to cheat. Swerve slapped him in the face, and Lee left the match, costing them the titles. That's the end. I don't know why they'd make up again for like one match.
And Keith Lee would look really dumb for giving Swerve another chance after knowing the track record there. So I don't foresee that being the case. The AEW All Atlantic Championship match between Orange Cassidy and Jake Hager was built around a hat.
Yeah. Oh, it's basically the gist of things. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Listen, I think that Jake Hager has never been better than he is now as the big dumb guy who's in love with a hat. Like, that's it. That's the pinnacle of Jack Swaggerdom. Like, there's nowhere he's ever. When he was world champion, and he was not as good as this, and yet it also sucks. Like, there's a point there where you got to recognize that this is as silly as it possibly can be. Sometimes it pops me. Most of the time, it's like, Okay. I think that Orange Cassidy's the perfect foil for something like this.
Definitely.
Daddy Magic and Ange Parker ringside trying to get custody of the hat. It's the comedy thing. What I'm here for is you're looking at what we have with coming out of this, which is you don't get to be funny guy making the jokes when the devil himself is after you.
Right.
That's like this is the last funny part of the movie when everything just turns on a dime and everything becomes really tragic. So maybe that might work.
It upsets me seeing where Daniel Garcia was a month and a half ago.
I don't know, man.
To where he is now, swinging and missing, trying to grab a hat in a match.
Yeah.
That bums me out quite a bit, as a matter of fact.
I mean, Daniel Garcia I was like, this guy's ready. You strap every rocket you got to this guy. I was like, the obvious thing that they do here is that they're going to run Garcia versus Jericho with the Pure title and the ROH title, both of them on the line, all the gold at Final Battle in December. A couple of months ago, I would have bet the house on it. And now he's like sitting at ringside for Jake Hager's comedy match. Like, I'm regardless of how much you love the hat stuff. I know there's a lot of people who love the hat stuff. Daniel Garcia is bigger than the hat stuff.
And it's one of those situations where the crowd was really buying into that, and you were getting the reaction you wanted out of Daniel Garcia's pursuit of once again becoming a professional wrestler and not a sports entertainer. And they cooled it down. And listen, sometimes it works out where you can revisit it and it'll be fine. But other times, when you miss something that's white hot and you choose not to pull the trigger, well, that's going to be a problem when you try to reestablish someone. So I am concerned about that. Now, after this match, we see the best friends are about to celebrate, and the factory interrupts them. They come down. They're trying to get some revenge for their 0-hour match from the other night. And that's when the House of Black returns and takes out everyone.
Everybody.
Pretty emphatic return for the House of Black. I like that quite a bit.
I love that it starts with Julia. I think she adds so much to the whole thing, like her up on the top of the ramp. Undertaker left his hat in the middle of the ring when he retired, and she was the one who somehow got custody. I love it. Good. Malachi Black there, and Brody King in like the vest with the full sleeve dress shirt with the cufflinks and the bolo tie, like all of it. This is my favorite act in all of wrestling. The potential of what it could possibly be, them destroying everybody, them destroying the security guards, the jobbers who got sent out to stop everything, this destroying the factory and the best friends. But it's not about, I want my All-Atlantic title, Orange Cassidy. It's everyone is on notice because we are here and we're going to destroy everything. And just being able to have Malachi Black back when everyone was like, he might never wrestle again. Like, no, because what a amazing talent that guy is, and him like members of the House of Black. And I forgot that's what he used to refer to the crowd. I thought he was talking just about Julia and Buddy and Brody, but I was like, no. He's talking about everybody in that building.
Everyone's there.
Nice. And they did. Of course they did. He's great.
I thought it was awesome, and I love the idea that they could be going after anyone, heel or babyface, because that creates a lot of matches down the line, and it keeps a trio active without having to go for the trios championships, which is going to be obviously a big part of AEW TV for the next month and a half or so with this Best of 7 series. So I really like the dynamic of you never know where House of Black is going to show up, and I hope that is something they continue to lean into. I want to catch up, Alex, real quick here on a bunch of super chats and Humper Chats again, humperchats.com. Send them in all together for us. Adam Weller says, as a Brit, Alex, Regal is not Stewie Griffin.
What are you talking about, Sunshine? Of course, I'm not Stewie Griffin. Stewie Griffin was up here. This is Stewie Griffin. No, Regal's down here. They're very similar, but they're different. You man in the mask, scrummy. Ooh.
That's good. That's good. Chi-Town Spurs says, "Give me Keith Lee and Macbeth." Okay, yeah, I'd see him in some Shakespeare.
I mean, yeah, he's got that basso profundo, like that voice. I could see him doing anything.
Oh yeah. Orion Ben 666 says, "What was the name of Saturn's horsey?" Exactly this.
Was it Moppy? Of course, it was Moppy.
Yes.
Moppy. It was the.
You're welcome.
The three-handled family credenza, I believe, was the name of the.
Yes, you're welcome, he would say. Jambeard says, "I really want to see Evil House and join House of Black, and he becomes his more demonic, serious side with his old, evil-looking face paint." Well, they did go after best friends, so maybe there's an opportunity for Danhausen to be part of that. And again, guys, we teed it up at the beginning of the show. I want to know, what is the most overrated Thanksgiving food? I'm going to read a bunch of them off in just a little bit as we continue going through this show. We saw a Jungle Boy Jack Perry post-cage match vignette where he said that he was glad that he went through this match with Luchasaurus, and he was even happier that he came out on top. I love the visual of the blood still on his face. That was very smart of the camera crews to catch that right after his match. What do you think of this?
This is the thing that I love about AEW is that they always make sure to catch something like this after a big match. Guy's got dried blood caked all over his face. He's still sweating buckets. And he's still, the adrenaline's still flowing, so he's gonna cut some really great promo. This is it. This is what's so great, is because this is another one of those feuds that that it can't end until you can get a Christian Cage versus Jack Perry match. Christian's still injured, so how do we find ways of slow playing this moving forward? And this is, you take a week, maybe even 2, and this might give us 2 weeks with just using this promo to let us breathe out of this program with Luchasaurus and move into the next one.
You have to find a way to, because you need the payoff, right? There's no way that you can't not get the payoff. Christian obliterated him when Luchasaurus turned, so you have to find a way to get Jack Perry that. And I love seeing the serious side of Jack Perry. I think that's great as well.
Yeah.
The AEW Eliminator Final, Ricky Starks defeated Ethan Page, so it is Starks versus MJF at Winter is Coming. I had a feeling this was going to be the play when they delayed the tournament a little bit. I thought both these guys were amazing in this match, especially Ricky Starks and all of his selling. For me, Alex, there is a rule of 3 all the time in pro wrestling. It never fails. And Ricky Starks hits 3 spears to get the win here after he can't execute Rochambeau because he is selling. I thought this was a really great match to showcase both of these guys, and I'm excited to see if they can heat up Ricky Starks enough to become a believable challenger for MJF here. What do you think?
I keep saying this because I think it's a really solid story to tell. Ricky Starks going up against MJF in MJF's first title defense at Winter's Coming and losing, but being built back up, getting maybe a brief TNT title run or whatever, and being the guy who at next Winter is Coming wins again to get a rematch versus MJF, because that's a bit leading into the bidding war of 2024, because we don't know when that exact contract date is. I'm sure they'll actually come out with it or whatever, and maybe not Winter is Coming, but maybe it's Revolution next year, 2024. But if Ricky Starks is the guy to lose in MJF's first title defense, and then if MJF wins, that's it. Next week, my contract's up. I'm taking this title with me to the other place. But Ricky Starks, a year later, is the guy to stop him from doing that. That would build Ricky Starks as a huge
big time
main event babyface.
I agree with you. I watch Ricky Starks and I see The Rock in 1997, a guy that has the charisma starting to really come out. We know he can go in the ring. He's a great athlete. It's just a matter of finding the right story and the right combination of people to work with that will help take him to that next level. I think a match with MJF could potentially do that for him. I like your story pitch a lot there. I also like the idea that he had to go through some monsters in Brian Cage and Lance Archer to get to this point. Man, pro wrestling is so great when a crowd can connect with a performer and form that emotional connection where they feel with them. And when a performer is selling like how Ricky Stark sold in this match, I'm just enormously impressed by what he brings to the table.
Ricky Starks was selling the ribs during his pose walking down to the ring.
Yeah.
Not only was it like, because there's one thing to have rib tape. Remember Damon Dallas Page, who had the rib tape for like 7 months in 1997?
Oh, I hosted a podcast. I'm very well aware.
Rib tape is one thing.
Bro, I had rib tape all over me, all my matches, bro.
All the way up to verging into the sternum, and then one piece of tape that wraps around the shoulder to make sure everything kind of gets stayed up. That's the next level selling with the ribs. I was all about it. Loved him working it the whole time. And then when you talk about like beating some big guys like Archer and Cage, like Ethan Page is a big boy, and like he's got some high impact stuff. So to have Ricky Starks go through all three of them, I think is great. And Ethan Page doesn't lose anything by having to get 3 spears to be taken out. He stays fine.
One thing I will say I don't like. I do not love the pairing of Stokely Hathaway and Ethan Page. I love the two of them individually. I think they're very talented. The firm lost a lot of steam when AEW seemingly made this pivot here to having Regal and Max be the story rather than the firm be involved with it, which it feels like was probably the plan. They made a pivot. I don't think Ethan Page needs a hype man. Ethan Page cut a promo right before this match, and Stokely ends up getting kicked out of the match anyway. I just don't think they need to be together, but I love both of them individually. Just my tape here. Jambeard says, I want to see Ricky be the WCW DDP and wear the bandages around his ribs for 3 years, and he's always selling them as an underdog. So there you go. People are.
I mean, there's for enough of us old heads, we would recognize the fact that it's an homage, and be totally into it. And for the youngins who don't remember 25 years ago, it'll be for them what DDP was to us 25 years ago, and that's why I think it's great.
Brent Lockman says, I assume part of Malachi coming back is to be hung from the trunk of the world tree until he gains all of his ancestral knowledge. All of it.
Listen, I'm so the only thing that like, this is what I think is great is that we'll talk more about it in just a little bit. But they're obviously, to me, going to stretch out the series to the full 7, which means whoever wins that, I'm assuming it's going to be the Elite, wins that final 7 thing. Then you have the House of Black, who have been wreaking havoc everywhere indiscriminately for 6 weeks. Then they formally declare their targets are the Elite, and that feud heading into Revolution, House of Black versus Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks is absolutely a 100% dream feud of mine right now.
It is a legit pay-per-view, high-value pay-per-view match that can sell tickets and sells buy rates. So no doubt about that. Jade Cargill, we see her confronting Bow Wow from a few days ago. It cuts to an interview with her and the baddies. Smart Mark Sterling's back with her, and he says that the official stance from Team Jade is there's no comment. And the baddies are about to leave. They say they're going to have a celebration next week. And Kiera Hogan is fired from the baddies. You want to know where Stokely Hathaway should be right now? With Jade Cargill and the baddies. Just my take there. You have any thoughts?
I mean, I suppose. I really we'll have to see now what they're actually doing with the firm. I think they're probably going to slow play the reveal that the firm has been in MJF's pocket all along. When like Moxley's got to go on vacation at some point, right? Like he's still sticking around to tell Regal to run far, run fast. But that dude was supposed to go on vacation in September, and I'm sure he wants that vacation. So I think you're probably going to have Moxley laid out backstage, and we're not going to know what happened.
Who did it?
Could it have been Bryan Danielson? He was having words with Jon Moxley, we saw. There's a lot of other...
For MJF. But yeah, Red Velvet also did come back in this. I'd be remiss if I did not mention that. So
yeah. But I think that there's something for the firm to I think that maybe Paige doesn't need them, but everybody else in that group does. And I think that Paige, being the guy in the firm, the guy who is closest to being a main event top talent in that group, without him, they're just a bunch of like a couple of upper mid cards and some jobbers. As great as Stokely is, he's not going to elevate those guys to be something better than that. So he elevates them as well. So I think that's all good. If you could have him back with them, back with Jade, but it feels like that train has sailed. One thing here, I don't need a celebrity mixed tag match.
No, I do not.
Just let me see Jade Cargill punch Little Bow Wow in the face once, and I'll be done with it. I can move on. Too bad for Kiara Hogan. I don't know why she got fired. That was odd. Too bad.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for her. We also got a Wardlow vignette where he just basically said he was pissed off at Samoa Joe. And listen, angry chasing Wardlow is always good for business as far as I'm concerned. So,
I mean, I like that he was like, I didn't know what happened, but I went back and watched the tape, and now I know exactly who to blame for this.
Yep.
There was something very interesting about the end of that match on Saturday where, I mean, Wardlow can say now that he went back and watched the tape and then he knew what happened, but he knew what happened in the moment after the match because he and Will Hobbs looked at each other like,
whoa.
So we agree that we have a great respect for each other, and that mother effer is going to need to get got.
Yep.
Like, I think there's some really, really cool stuff there. I would love the idea of Will Hobbs and Wardlow being the guys who are great rivals, but also, God damn it, do I respect you?
Yep.
Like, I really want that whole Wes Mantooth action from both of these guys. I kind of need. I love the idea of them being a tag team for a while, and then realizing without like having to feud about it, we got to go our separate ways. Our energy's all just off right now, and you could really run that kind of off again, rivals and friends for like 5 years, and it would totally work.
Well, it can also be a situation where Joe's got two titles. Hobbs goes for one of them and Wardlow goes for the other. There's an opportunity to explore that route too. I mean, Hobbs with the Ring of Honor TV title seems like a viable path and would get him some TV time as well. So I could see that. Real quick to get back on the Jade front, Janbeard says, with the three-way tag match that happened tonight, plus Kira getting fired, I could see her teaming with her girlfriend/wife Diamante, and we are getting close to a women's tag titles, including Nyla and Shafir. I'm not so sure about that just yet. That's where
I don't know that they add those belts.
Yeah.
I could easily see a maybe not with these particular, maybe not with Hayter as champion, but I could easily see a you could easily cut a promo that's Jade Cargill says, I beat everybody. I am the top women's champion here. Nobody can beat me. Why am I carrying the secondary belt?
Right.
I want that one. And you could easily run a double or nothing where you could run Jade versus whoever's the champion at the time. And then you fold those into one big singles title. And then you add to make up for the TBS division, you add a women's tag titles thing because there are plenty of women who could do that.
There are definitely a lot of women who could be utilized for it. All right. Let's talk about the match that I think everyone's been waiting for us to talk about here. That is match 2 of the best of 7 series between Death Triangle and the Elite. The Death Triangle move up 2-0 in this series. A hell of a match once again. They told a lot of different stories in it. The hammer once again coming into play. The selling was mainly done by packing this with his nose and the way they targeted that with his mask on, which I thought was a nice little wrinkle. The story they were telling on commentary was, well, the Elite got screwed the other day, so they have free reign to do whatever they can to win in this match. But of course, what everyone's ultimately going to talk about, the CM Punk references in the match and the crowd. The crowd was not having any of the Elite in the first 10 minutes of this thing. Massive boost. Kenny Omega did an interview earlier, and he said it's time to move on from all this stuff, and he proceeds to bite Pac in this match and hits a go to sleep as well. Wow. How about that?
So I've seen a lot of stuff, including from Sean Ross Sapp, that it feels so heavy-handed right now that there's no way Punk isn't eventually coming back when he's healthy. And like I don't know, like it certainly does feel that way, part of me, but also like I don't know, man. I don't know what the reconciliation was backstage with that guy, but like it does feel like a lot of people in the locker room, unless the whole thing's a work, never liked that guy, are happy he's gone or whatever. But there was so much like you had Matt Jackson try to do a buckshot lariat, but like land on his butt and goes, what happened? Like there were so many references to CM Punk in this. And I think a lot of it was also playing up to the crowd, who was immediately healing on the Elite from their entrance.
I think it was more than anything else. I still don't see CM Punk coming back to this company for a variety of reasons. And when have the Young Bucks ever backed down from not leaning into controversy? That is what they've done. They can say something on the surface level, but as performers, this is what they have done for years now. If you've been following their career, you know this is how they do it. Look at all the stuff they did with WWE when they were teasing if they were going to go to WWE on being the Elite. They lean into everything.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
So I don't read too much into this, but the Elite try to cheat here, and Death Triangle, this time it's Penta, uses a hammer after Nick Jackson tried to use a hammer. And now Death Triangle is up 2-0 in this best of 7 series. Do you see them playing this like the 2004 Yankees and Red Sox, where Death Triangle goes up 3-0 and then the Elite rattle off 4 in a row?
It's such Vince McMahon booking, and I hate it. Like, this is there. Here's why I love the first match so much. I genuinely did not know who was going to win.
Sure.
I thought they'll probably have the Elite win. That's a big thing. And move forward. They were supposed to be the champs to begin with. You rectify the situation, you move on. You can easily have Phoenix and Pac like feud against each other because one guy wants to cheat and the other guy doesn't. So you have something for the Death Triangle to do. You move on. But when Death Triangle won, I was like, well, that genuinely shocked me. Now I feel like going forward, I next week is the only match of the next 7 that the next 5 that I don't kind of know who's going to win, especially if you have the Death Triangle win again next week. Then you know the next 3 are all going to be the Elite, because there's no way they book it to not go the full 7. They've got the dates. All the dates are circled. They know what they're doing. So I would rather it be 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, and the 7th. I'd always rather it be that, because then at least maybe you could go like 2-1, 2-2, and then back around the other team gets an advantage. You could do those kinds of things, but when it's just like it's up 2-0, next week the Elites gotta win, and I would hope they win 2 in a row so that we get a best of 3, a straight up best of 3. That's what I want.
I want that as well, and I do think it's within the realm of possibility that it gets booked that way, but I think they look at this too as an opportunity to tell the story of Death Triangle just as much as the Elite, where Death Triangle, Ray Phoenix and Penta were resisting the cheating advances from Pac. Eventually they give in, they rattle off some wins, and that starts to unfold over the course of the series, leading to either the breakup of Death Triangle or Pac leaving or the Lucha Brothers having dissension. I see a duality in the story that they can tell there, and it was Matt Jackson, not Nick Jackson. My apologies on that. Tyler Brown asked via super chat, chances we get the Elite doing a backstage segment where they super kick a door on Death Triangle and hit Alex with it. I would not go that route. That seems a little
Abrahantes?
Yes.
Yeah, probably not. No.
That seems a little on the nose.
It does seem a little on the nose. I thought the match was amazing.
Yes,
all the spots were fantastic. I liked the playing into the crowd. And now the whole thing is that I trust these wrestlers, who are some of the best in the world, to recognize, okay, well, now the Elite can't be gagging it up. They can't be like, oh, look at us, aren't we cute? We're doing funny gags. You're down 2-0. Like, you should be in this thing. There should be a sense of urgency.
I think there should
moving
be
forward.
a win in this for the Elite where they just beat the shit out of Death Triangle and
Yeah.
like brawl them and beat the shit out of them and win by that. And it kind of, whoa, wait a minute. We've never seen that from the Elite. And you have a chance to tell these different stories and matches with this. And I think if you can vary the degree of storytelling, it will make this best of 7 series even more valuable. Ray O says CMFTR versus Elite is so money. I pray these guys don't leave that money on the table. It's certainly,
I mean,
it's a big match if it happens.
For the grand, I would think, I might be wrong about this. Certainly in Chicago, it's wrong, but for the grand majority of all AEW fans, I think Punk coming back would have to be playing up the heel stuff. I think that's kind of what people are in. And I don't want FTR to be bad guys.
No.
Like, almost ever again. I love cheering for those guys so much that I don't want to see them like jump back with. I think you're wrong about it being money. It's all kinds of money. But I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going on with the CM Punk thing. Honestly don't. I think that this match was excellent. And now it's got to be serious time. I think that you were able to do this match in front of this crowd, but down 2-0, you gotta now the Elite's got to be serious.
Yeah. Chi-Town Smurd says the Elite are basketball fans. It's going to be Death Triangle blowing a 3-1 lead. Warriors, Cavs, of course.
But at least that means the Elite get a victory next week.
Mm-hmm. It would,
and then it goes 2-1. And then if you get Death Triangle going up 3-1 the following week, then I think that it's going to be 3-3. And then in the final one, you could convince me of anything. Honestly, I still think it's going to be the Elite winning. So then they'll feud with House of Black. But maybe that's just me hoping for it because I want that so badly.
I really wanted to. Jambeard, who's been killing it tonight with the super chat, says if Punk comes back, he'd be their most hated top heel, even if he's not in a title feud, much like what Jericho tried to be. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong about that. Again, guys, you can send in your super chats right here or at humperchats.com. I've got a bunch to catch up on in just a minute here. But Alex, there was so much aerial assault in this match. There's just so much air that I swear Ray Phoenix leapt so high in the air that he lost his ability to stream AEW. Tonight. He just lost his ability to do so. But if he had NordVPN, then perhaps he might have had success in watching.
NordVPN.com/Fightful is great. How great? How about this? You're going to save money on it if you buy as many pay-per-views as I do. And I buy a lot, man. I'm not going to say what kind. That's for you to determine. But I got a great deal with NordVPN. Used it before they even worked with us. Got 70% off my deal. Got an additional month free, 30-day money-back guarantee. Works on all my devices. I have it on this computer. I have it on this phone. I have it on the router that's sitting right over there. The TV that's up against the wall. The laptop that's downstairs. It's on all those devices, and it works on all those. And I can do that and have online threat protection, avoiding pop-up ads, malware, all that stuff. Online trackers. But you can change your virtual location with just one click with NordVPN.com/Fightful. Subscribe to services overseas or get those pay-per-views at the international rate. Check it out. NordVPN.com/Fightful.
I want to continue our conversation about awful or most overrated, I should say, Thanksgiving foods, because I asked you guys to leave super chats for that. Jordan Cooper says green bean casserole is the Chris Jericho of dishes. You wonder why it's on the table, doesn't look appealing, but ends up tastier than you thought.
No, it sucks. It sucks. Green bean casserole is the worst. Green bean casserole should have retired years ago. That's what I got to say about green bean casserole.
Albert Pond says pumpkin pie is overrated. LOL, like you try to bring anything else, we'll get you ostracized in my family. True. That's fair.
So many families are like, you got to do it. Like, not only does it have to be the same dishes every year, but they have to be prepared according to great Mima's way, or else you're sitting at the kiddie table.
And Jambeard says cranberry sauce is overrated. I've always hated, no matter if it's Thanksgiving or Christmas. It's a controversial take there.
I mean,
Let's
the one that's shaped like a can. It's just some weird canned Jello. It's not in a
well, you can
like
make
real fresh cranberry sauce can be pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Okay, so Thunder Rosa no longer the AEW Women's World Champion, and Jamie Hayter no longer the interim World Champion. We get this announcement via an interview segment with Renee Paquette, Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker, and Rebel. And Renee is about to interview Jamie Hayter about winning, but Britt Baker steps in and says Jamie Hayter doesn't need any of this ballyhoo. Just let her walk down to the ring. We're already starting to sow those seeds for Britt Baker, bringing herself one step closer to becoming world champion again. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. There's, I mean, and with good reason, please. Like, if you're gonna have Jamie Hayter be the champion, I thought we could have had a really great non-title feud between Jamie and Britt, and have Jamie win that feud, and that propels her as a babyface toward being the champion. Now that she's the champion, of course, her first feud as champion has got to be with Britt Baker. I feel like that's probably written in the stars. She wins that feud, I think, is the smart thing to do, and then you can have that propel her beyond that as well. I like that not only do they have her, Britt Baker, like stepping in and grabbing the microphone and saying, "I'll answer for her," but then when she does, she says all nice things about Jamie. So that's like there's a little bit of gray area there. But also, we'll talk about in the match, they decided let's have Britt get the pinfall and make it all about Britt. And so we'll see how Jamie starts to resent that in the weeks moving forward.
Yeah, we saw Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter defeat Tay Mello and Anna J, TJ, and Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue. This was, I thought it was a fine match. Again, it was pretty story based, with Britt being the one that picks up the fall here. Again, Britt, it would make sense for her, being the conniving heel she is, to want to play this close to the chest. She helped her win so she could be that much closer, and to sow some doubt in between their little agreement that they have working with one another. Right. I think that's a pretty easy story to ultimately tell here. Anything about the match stand out to you?
I mean, Ty J doing their shtick. It doesn't work for me. I love Willow. I'm Sky Blue's really growing on me. Listen, I think both Ty Mello and Anna J are great. Mm-hmm. I just think the shtick that they're doing is just.
I agree.
Laying it on pretty thick.
I love that Willow's getting showcased, man. I think Willow's going to lead the division one day soon, and it's going to be great.
I do too. I think I said this, like I thought that if we're ever going to get a real split between ROH and AEW, I think that you could build an entire women's division in ROH around Willow. Let her be champion, let her run for a while, stave off some veterans who are coming after the belt, and then bring her back over to AEW and immediately set her up there. Like, she was ROH champion for like 9 months. She's ready now, and then put the belt on over there.
Yeah. Also in this match, as it ends, actually, Excalibur tells us that officially Toni Storm's reign is recognized as an official reign now. I think, and I have no intel telling me this, but I think that Tony Khan saw people angry tweeting during the match about, well, shouldn't Toni Storm's reign be recognized now as official? And he got in the headset and said, hey guys, say that Toni Storm is now officially recognized.
Yeah. I thought that, I think it's a good call, because everyone that I saw had anything to say about it. It's like, hey, good for Jamie. Although Toni, that sucks for her that she's the only one who was never actually champion. And I think that it's great that they were like, no, she was champion too. So we're all good here. But it did feel like they were trying to, let's run that back. Whoops, made a mistake. We're good now, though, right, guys? Cool.
We're good, right? Yeah. Humper chat from Joey Bag of Donuts. Most women's tag matches in AEW are awesome, so why not have a women's tag team championship to add to the 18,743 other belts?
As I said, I don't want them just to create out a whole cloth. I think they can easily merge. They created the TBS. I feel this way. They created the TBS title as something to do with Jade Cargill because they didn't want to beat her, but they knew if they didn't beat her, she could not be kept away from the women's championship.
Sure.
And Britt was the champion at the time, and they didn't want to take the title off of Britt. So they created a whole other belt just for Jade. And now she's gotten to a point where, okay, that's done now. We need her to actually be as part of the top women's division. And so I think you can merge those two and then replace that division with the tag division.
Sure. JW Pringle says, on a wrestling show the day before Thanksgiving, how was there not a food fight? 3 out of 10. And missing out there. Big opportunity.
I mean, somebody like, listen, you had a match with best friends and the comedy segment of Yas. Like, how does Daddy Magic not end up wearing a turkey for a hat? How did we not end up his head all the way inside a turkey? How did that thing not happen?
Put some mashed potatoes in the hat and stick it on his head, right?
Oh, there you go. Like, here's the thing. Like, there's got to somewhere near ringside, catering's got to have some Thanksgiving Day fixins. And you get Chuck Taylor, who steals the hat, goes over, puts gravy in it, and then puts it back on Jake Hager's head. Come on, who wouldn't laugh at that?
I can text a guy and find out what kind of catering there was tonight if they had Thanksgiving spreads out there.
Yeah, maybe.
Guess we can find out. Let's continue here. We see a challenge from Top Flight to FTR for the Ring of Honor tag titles on Rampage, which is a 4:00 start on Friday, 1:00 if you're on Pacific time. So that is a early day at the office.
Yeah.
The Acclaimed were so freaking over on this show.
So over.
They remind me, and I'm not just making this comparison to this team because Daddy Ass is out there, but they remind me of how over the New Age Outlaws were. And I was at that show at Full Gear this past week. Their merch was everywhere throughout the entire arena. It was a sight to be seen, and they are just massively over, and they are interrupted. Well, I should say Max Caster takes a dig at Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett in his rap, and then we are interrupted by Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, Sanjay Dutt, and Jeff Jarrett, where they issue a warning to the Acclaimed. So all things considered, it looks like Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal are going to get a tag title shot before FTR does.
Man, like, as soon as they appear on TV, the entire crowd starts with an FTNA.
They did.
Chant, and they did not say F.
No, they did not.
I JEFF off. That's what I said when he first showed up. I'm done with that. I've never been a Jay Lethal. Like, both of these guys, like, waltzing in and on the cachet of stuff they did 15 years ago, getting an AEW title match at all. I don't know, man. I'm not here for Jeff Jarrett coasting on a legacy. I never thought he was good ever. And Jay Lethal, like, doing it like, hey, remember when I did Flair to Flair? Remember that? Like, that's his whole thing to me. So, like, I don't know. I'm not into it.
Listen,
I'm just not.
I'm not saying this is a cheap plug. Matt Hardy and I today just taped an entire episode of his podcast, The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, about Jeff Jarrett, because they've got a big match at WrestleCade, and there's a lot of personal animosity between them. And we were going through Jeff Jarrett's career lineage and whatnot. I've always liked Jeff Jarrett. I was never a huge fan when he was actively in the ring. I've grown to respect his mind a lot for his simple and easy approach to wrestling, because it's not. Wrestling, even if you make it look simple, it's not easy. And I respect that a lot about him. Does he need to be consistently in feuds on AEW television when there are so many tag teams in that tag team division that I think would be better suited challenging the Acclaimed? Yeah, I do. But maybe the higher powers say, hey, this is a good way to get them a little bit of a rub. But what did Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett do to deserve this title match? They just
lost. They just lost to Sting and Darby. Like, so, I understand you're saving FTR versus the Acclaimed probably for the pay-per-view, and I get that. But, like, my outrage at Jarrett and Lethal getting a tag title match before FTR is just on general principle. I don't like. They shouldn't get one before anybody. I don't know who's available in the tag division. Pick a name. those guys deserve a title shot before Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal in my book. So that's just my own personal thing.
Vala Mama D Pooty. I apologize.
Valab, just Valab.
Valab, okay. He says a wild slap nuts appeared.
Yes, he walks like they heard you get Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt and the big stiff behind him cutting the promo, and then walking like through the frame is Jeff Jarrett. That's the only thing about the whole deal that pops me.
I have some other things, but Jim Beard also says Alex's dream match is Jericho versus Double J.
You know they're going to do it too. You know that
Ring of Honor World Champion Jeff Jarrett. I think
whenever that takes place on the review that night, I will have nothing to say because I won't watch that match. I just can't. I won't be able to bring myself to do it.
We still have a little more time here, guys. I want to see some more Humper chats and super chats from you. HumperChats.com. We'll get them right on air. We still have a few more to read, and also coming up after this around midnight Eastern, day after Dynamite. It's technically day after Dynamite with Will Washington. I had a chance to hang out with Will this past weekend. I had a great time with him. So make sure you go support that as well. Anthony Henry versus Darby Allin. Hikaru Shida is going to be in action in LFI versus Dark Order on Rampage as well. And that gets us to our main event. Alex, Chris Jericho versus Tomohiro Ishii. This, I thought, frankly, I don't know if you want to hear this or not. I thought this was one of Chris Jericho's best singles matches on TV this year. What do you think?
Oh yeah, it's Tomohiro Ishii.
Okay.
Of course it is. Like, you know, I think that you can rank all of his best matches against by ranking the opponents that he faced against them, because I think it's amazing that he can do some of the stuff that he can do now, still at this point. But a lot of his side of matches to me feel paint by numbers. Like I'm going to do whatever the guy opposite me is doing. That's his match. I'm going to wrestle his match, and that's fine. I think. Listen. At this point, I think this match was great. I think Ishii is an all-time talent. I love that guy, and Jericho stood in there and took chops to the chest so hard that he bled all over the place.
I think he chopped his nipple off.
I don't know how you don't have respect for that, which I certainly do. It's to me, it's just the fact that he's in this spot in the company right now at all to be in these main events, that I have everything after that. Hey, he's great, but I would much rather see somebody younger being established as opposed to the guy who is, you know, if you say so, the GOAT, but he's been doing this for so long. He's not gaining anything by this. And depending on who he's beating, not a lot of the people that he's beating are gaining a lot of stuff by. I thought they were going to gain stuff with this Daniel Garcia feud, but he's actually lost position in the company. So, I mean, there's back and forth. I thought the match was great. I can't say anything bad about the match. I don't like just the aura of what Jericho represents as a whole in all of professional wrestling.
I thought Ishii's selling in this match was really great, and the little teases they did that he was too exhausted and he couldn't stand, and they came at very unexpected times, which was very effective. And then for the finish, where he's looking like he's going to pass out in the walls of Jericho, he's climbing, he tries to roll it over, but then it's the Lion Tamer and he's about to pass out, and as he's about to pass out, he flips him the finger and taps. I love this finish. I thought the finish was great for this match. And afterwards, it looks like Chris Jericho is going after Ian Riccaboni, and Claudio makes the save. So my gut would tell me final battle is probably going to be Claudio versus Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Championship.
Again, like I love Claudio, and I don't believe that after that match he will get the title back. I've said this since the beginnings. As they put the belt on Jericho, it's all a stunt to get people who have money to be like, I recognize that guy from wrestling 20 years ago. So obviously he's a Hall of Famer type of guy. Therefore, I will give you my money to have a TV show. And once that is established, then we can move on. But since that's not established yet, we're just going to keep having Chris Jericho beating all these guys that I love personally. Like, I've loved Claudio since before he was even in WWE. When he was Claudio the first time. And so every time he loses to Chris Jericho, a guy who I don't particularly love, it makes me personally, this may be very different for everybody in the chat, it makes me personally sad. And I don't want to be sad, so I don't like watching those matches. That's just me.
Tom LaValle says, Yas, in half the matches tonight, Alex is in heaven.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of my biggest problems with this show, and it is a consistent theme that I find with a lot of AEW Dynamites in the last 6 months or so. I host Strictly Business with Eric Bischoff, and I will say up front, I don't agree with a lot of Eric's takes about AEW. A lot of them I don't agree with. But one that I typically do from a TV formatting perspective is I don't think AEW often puts the right matches as the main event. The most hyped up match for this show was the Elite versus Death Triangle in Chicago. And it's no disrespect to Chris Jericho and the Ring of Honor Championship against Tomohiro Ishii. You could have put that at the 9 o'clock hour event, main event there, and it would have been great, and people would have watched it, and people would have stuck around to watch that Elite versus Death Triangle match just to see out of pure curiosity how the crowd was going to react. With you putting that at the 9 o'clock hour, I don't think you're going to have as many people stick around for the main event to see Chris Jericho versus Ishii, since they know Ishii wasn't going to win that championship.
Yeah. Oh no, not a chance. And until we know that ROH is established as a second brand, and they can build somebody else to be the next. The only other guy I can think possibly that they could have beat Jericho for it is Danielson. That's the only other guy they have that's even available in my mind that they would use to also build the ROH brand on the back of is Danielson. It'll be every time they're like, oh, Jericho taking on another former ROH champ and beating him. Like 9 out of 10 times cheating in order to do so. Like, it's just a thing that I don't particularly enjoy. And he didn't cheat tonight, to his credit, but oftentimes he does, or at least attempts to. And it just becomes like a thing like, okay, well, if the match is that predictable, then I enjoy it less. So I'm seeing people say Adam Cole. God, I wish it would be Adam Cole. I just don't know when he's back.
Yeah, I don't know if or when he's going to be back. Hopefully we can take Tony Khan at his word that he will be. I just think it's poor formatting. Now, it was such an obvious layup to me that the Elite versus Death Triangle in Chicago would be the main event of this show.
Me too. Yep.
And it just seemed like a missed opportunity to keep people staying around. Speaking of that match, Adam Weller says match 7 is a week after Wrestle Kingdom. Triangle will win. Punk will return. Like kids, if you want to run a business, you can't be going back to your old playground. Oof.
I mean, if that was something they were going to do, it would make sense for him to say that. I think that they're definitely going to stretch it out to the full 7. And they can make that be a part of the booking of how they'll handle it. Like, oh, Kenny Omega's got jet lag. Or it won't play into it at all, and they'll move on.
Brent Lockman says, great match for the main event, but it's so hard being an Ishii fan sometimes. Also, it's a good thing Ishii doesn't have a neck.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. It is hard being an Ishii fan sometimes because you know how great he is and that he's not going to be in that position.
Regarding our comments on the tag division, Albert Pond says, you got Butcher Blade, Gun Club, Gates of Agony, Nice Woods, just to name a few teams I'd rather see a feud with the Acclaimed and the Kingdom.
Yep.
Well, there's a lot there. We have another one from Jambeard saying, I would love to see an AEW versus New Japan match between New Japan Women's Champ, which was Kairi Sane, versus Shida. Make it happen at the next Forbidden Door pay-per-view.
Yeah, 100%. Let's make that happen.
We got another one from Adam Weller. Says, today I found out watching Dynamite with a bad fever. Gee, the pacing of the show, the Excalibur speedruns, Taz and Tony fighting. My head hurts. Dude, Taz and Tony Schiavone fought so much on this episode tonight.
They really did.
Holy Jesus. Yeah. They really, really did. Continuing here, we got another one about Thanksgiving overrated food. Jacob McRae says, late to the show, the trick to turkey is an air fryer. Crispy fried turkey has changed my world. Now, here's the thing about air fryers. I will live and die by air fryers. I totally feel that sentiment. Alex, do you have an air fryer?
Of course.
you know damn well you ain't finning a whole Thanksgiving.
No, you'd have to slice it up and then put it in the air fryer to crisp it piece by piece. The thing of it is that this is my thing for turkey. I love the week after Thanksgiving, the cold turkey sandwiches with real turkey that you've I love that, but I honestly, hot turkey doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things of I'd rather eschew the serving of turkey on the night if I get one more turkey sandwich out of it going forward.
Yeah, I will swear by this. I'm all about smoked turkey. You put it in the smoker, it changes the flavor of it. You add so much more depth. The smoke ring adds a lot. I've never done the deep fried turkey. Way too scared that I'd burn my house down. So
I feel like they intentionally do don't put your turkey in here if it's got any frozen bits in it because that'll explode everything. Also, make sure you don't fill your deep frying thing all the way to the top with oil. Which is what we did, which is why it exploded. If you actually do everything correctly, it might not do the thing that they show in the videos.
Crazy, right? Jambeard says, here's an idea to make Alex happy. Murder Grandpa Suzuki is a former Ring of Honor TV champ. Jericho could face him and beat him as the next challenger.
Yeah, that'd be great. Make me feel real good. Watch one of my favorite guys, Minoru Suzuki, lose to Jericho. I'd love it. It'd be great.
Great Clay says it's a humper chat. Says I keep holding out hope for Gresham to take the belt off Jericho at Final Battle or sometime thereafter. I should let this go. Correct?
I haven't heard anything about any kind of reconciliation or whatever that was. That feels like that was a final straw.
Yes. We're wrapping up here, guys. So these are the last ones we're going to be reading here. Rayo says John Alba's the effing man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm having a blast with you, Alex. I really appreciate you.
It is fun. I think there's you are very measured and thoughtful, and I am just a font of misplaced rage. So
Oh. No, you. No, I'm genuinely thoroughly enjoying this. Humper chat from Jesse says, gentlemen, to show us so much gentry and goodwill as to expend your time with us a while for the supply and profit of our hope, your visitation shall receive such thanks as fits a king's remembrance, which is from Hamlet. Hopefully that was Keith Lee reading that. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And Alex, as we wrap up here, we got a jukebox request. Are you seeing this?
Yes, this is something that happens over on the Tuesday show, and Sean hates it when it happens on Wednesdays, but he's not here. So
he's not here.
He's not here.
Cede the floor to you, my friend.
There you go. NCB has requested "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday" by Boyz II Men, as sung by William Regal, who's now left. He's gone. He's said goodbye, and he'll never come back ever again.
Ever again.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? Excalibur, Man in the Mask, the good times that made us laugh outweigh the bad. I thought we'd get to see forever, but forever's gone away, you scrummy, ooh, it's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. I'd like to drown your drumsticks in my gravy. Goodbye, Man in the Mask. I'll always love you.
That was money well spent right there. Man, overall thoughts on the show as we wrap up?
I thought it was a good show. I think that there was a very special energy to that trios match, with that crowd, like being fake angry at everything, but just being egged on by the Elite the whole time. Loved it, man.
Yeah,
loved it,
and that's why it should have been the main event. That's why it should have been the main event of the show. My lasting thought of this show so badly needed MJF on it in some capacity. Really did. He is the top draw, and now he's literally the champion, but he is the top draw. So you got to find a way to include him in this. All in all, for this show, I'm probably going with a B- in that general area. But two really good matches with the main event and the Elite match, and the rest I kind of just felt was largely missable.
Right.
Just
Jim Beard has a question. Have you heard of Pawlowski?
Yes, I have.
Because that's the elderly grandfather character that apparently is the thing where he explains things that happened long in the Diamond Dallas Page. He used to come out wearing rib tape all over he had broken ribs for 3 years, and no one ever was able to figure out how to fix them. So he just had to have tape around his ribs for a long time. He'd say bang, and he hit the diamond cutter, and that's what he did.
Oh,
that's Paul Pawlowski.
See, I would hear that every week from Diamond Dallas Page when I hosted DDP Snake Pit. Bro, Macho Man really endorsed me. Let me tell you, bro. It was the biggest moment of my career when I beat Sting in a fatal 4-way match every week. I love Dallas, but oh boy, was it fun. Alex, we don't have our lower thirds, our supers up for us. Where can people find you? Where can
you can find me on the Twitter, such as it is, for as long as it still exists, at Alex Sourgraps. I'll probably make a hive. We'll see. And then over on Tuesdays, where it's just a crazy variety hour with me and Kate, dissecting ridiculousness on NXT, and then on Mondays and Fridays over on Fightful Select, reviewing Raw and SmackDown.
Yes, and I do have a hive, by the way, John Alba. I made it. I'm still getting used to it, but I like it so far. It's promising.
Okay.
You can find me on Twitter as well, at John Alba, JONALBA, and I'm the host of the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, which drops every single Friday at extremehardy.com or wherever you get your podcasts, and the host of Strictly Business with Eric Bischoff. I also have a wrestling Patreon, Wrestling According to Alba.com. We just did a tape study yesterday, watch along, of Sasha Banks versus Bayley at NXT TakeOver, and we did a deep dive, like how a pitching coach would watch a pitcher and break down film. It was a lot of fun. We had a really good time with that. And I'll tell you what, Alex, I think you're going to be seeing a little more of me here on Fightful, for better or for worse, for some of you guys out there. So I'm excited. I appreciate Sean Ross Sapp letting me have the opportunity to step in and guest host with him. I'm going to see him at WrestleCade this weekend. I hope I see a bunch of you out there as well. This was fun, man. Thanks again for having me here.
A lot of fun. All right, everybody.
Right.
See you later, and we'll. What does Sean always say? We're out.
We're out.